Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna do an old school talk through YouTube tutorial. I really don't know how the look is gonna come out. It's my first time doing it. I figure we would try and fail together, and it's something I'm trying to do more, is like fail openly and be okay with failing and fail forward. Before I get into a ramble, because you know how I like to ramble, I've been reading a lot the last 2 years. Last year specifically, when I was unemployed, I made a goal to start reading again, and the book series that got me back into reading is called A Broken Blade. That's the first novel. It's the Halfling Saga by Melissa Blair. She is an Indigenous Canadian writer, and her books are a giant metaphor for colonialism. And as someone who is very politics driven, this series really stuck for me. Not only are the characters like super well-rounded, everything's really thought out, the twists I don't even see. It's fun, but it also is like this whole idea of resistance, and that's something that's very resonant with me right now. So the final book, very sad, just came out. It's called An Honored Vow. I haven't read this yet because when I read it, then it's gonna be gone, and I'm not ready for that. But what I started doing last year when I was unemployed and reading a lot was taking a book cover and then doing like 2 makeup looks based off of the book cover. And so I thought we would do that today, like a tutorial of that today. And this is, it's gonna be a mess. I'm not very good with line work, but this is what I thought of. I was really drawn for this look to the hilt of this blade. It has some like etchings in it. It feels like it's like bone or like marble, like ancient. And so that was with the inspiration for this look. I have another look that obviously deals with the giant red blade in there because that's really, really cool. But let's try and fail together and fail forward, and that's what I'm trying to do more of this year. So let's just get started. If this is your first time at a ramble video of mine, I'm a yapper, okay? I can't beat the allegations. I do like to yap. I'm gonna try to stay on task, and I'm gonna try not to go off into too many tangents. Try is the word of the day here. So I only did obviously a picture of this eye, so I wanted to do kind of a fresher face. The main character is pretty barefaced. I do think though for this look, for the lips, I'm gonna do something deep red like this to pay homage to the blade on the book, but the skin itself is gonna be pretty natural. So let's start with that. I also do want to discuss the elephant in the room, which is like, I'm posting more history content because I'm a very politically, historically driven person. I got a degree in honors history. I think history is so important, and if we don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it. I've been screaming it on TikTok for like 3 or 4 years. And so this last month has been really, really difficult for me, and I'm not gonna lie, I have been disassociating. Like, I haven't been posting a lot. I haven't been recording a lot of content. I felt a little hopeless, and I don't want to give into the hopelessness of the situation because I know that is not going to help anything. For those of you who maybe don't know or are curious, I'm a leftist. I'm very, very progressive in my politics. I feel like my politics are backed by moments in history and pieces in history that have worked in the past. As I've watched the progression of, like, specifically the US, because living in the US, that's the majority of like your education is centered around US history. I feel like I have watched what's happened and I'm able to make strong political decisions based on the past. So I'm a leftist, and I'm a proud leftist. I voted for Bernie Sanders twice, and obviously this transition into fascism, oligarchy is not ideal. It's very scary. And to be honest, the way that people are attacking intellectuals is also very terrifying. I'm a writer, and I wrote this play about, and I put a video of them up on the channel. I probably talk about them a lot, but Freddie and Truus Overstegen, they were Dutch resistance fighters during World War II, and they were 14 and 16 when they joined the Harlem Resistance against Nazi Germany. And these women, along with their friend Henny Shaft, who unfortunately was killed before the end of the war, they made huge, huge strides. And I've been really interested for a long time, I guess, in this idea of one person changing the course of history. And I do feel like we're at this point where stories like that of resistance and one person doing something, acting some way for the betterment of everybody who changes the course of history, I feel like that's really relevant right now. It's really speaking to me. And so, yeah, I think it's, how do I put this? I hold on to those examples. There's another one I can mention. I'm doing a lot of research on the My Lai massacre right now. I did a little video of it on TikTok, which I'll upload here, but I'm doing way more in-depth research. I'm reading entire like historical military reports, 325-page Pierce report. But even in that circumstance, one person who wasn't at the massacre but heard about it through his network of people wrote to Congress and said, you have to at least investigate this. And because of him, that atrocity was brought to light. Like, I think we underestimate the power of ourselves in history, because we focus on like grand battles in American history. This is how we teach it. And we rarely focus on the individual, and I think sometimes we lose ourselves in that teaching of history. So I have found some comfort, not a lot, some comfort in knowing these pieces of history, knowing that even though there are dark times, we never stay in the darkness forever. It sucks living through it, but it's not forever. So it's been very hard. I've been like screaming at my laptop, at my phone. I haven't really been back on TikTok since the ban and the like, oh, we love you, Donald Trump, thank you for bringing TikTok back. I don't fuck with that. I understand propaganda, and that is textbook, okay? So, you know, bringing into all of that, with, it seems like a new version of colonialism happening in some parts of the world, and genocide and ethnic cleansing, all things that like are discussed in this book. It feels incredibly timely, incredibly important, and I'm just obsessed with the way this author weaves this story. It feels so relatable, it feels so present, and it feels something in this example, in this book, and I feel like in a lot of like fantasy books, this one's a romantasy book, it always feels like you don't think you can possibly win, and then because of community, you do. And I've been really holding on to that because of community, you do bit of the books. I think they're incredible. I think they're phenomenal. I did 2 looks based on her last book. And I actually just gave that 3rd book to a coworker who I got hooked on the series. So this is just my pitch for if you want a really good book that is poignant but not depressing, that highlights resistance, highlights Indigenous voices, highlights women. I think this is a great series. I think it's easy to give into the hopelessness of it all, and I myself, you know, fall victim to that. But I do think as long as we're not just doing this, as long as we're doing other things, hope and joy is a form of resistance in itself. We need to supplement that with other things. We do need to call our Congress people. We do need to go on marches. We do need to make our voice heard in other ways as well. But I do think, and it's crazy to say because I know like it doesn't feel like it, but joy in a time like this is a very radical act. I encourage you guys to keep finding joy. I'm trying to find the joy. We're gonna do just minimal blush, just a little bit to highlight our cheeks, but again, like I want the main thing to be the eyes and the lips. So we're just gonna do a little bit. This is a beautiful shade. This is Persona Georgia, but any peachy pink shade will work. I've been very into doing my concealer after my bronzer blush lately, so I'm gonna continue to do that today. I don't really have anything else to talk about. Yikes, she did not think this through, but I am brainstorming how to do history content, how to do makeup content together. I'm considering going back to doing like podcasting. I did podcasting over the pandemic with a friend of mine, and I moved, the podcast fell apart. It was called Fast Past. It was the history podcast in close to 30 minutes or less. And so I think I want to bring something like that back. I think it's important more now than ever to just know history and have it readily available, credible history because there are a lot of sources that are just uncredible. I think school does not teach well how to find credible sources, or even that sources are biased, how to identify a biased source. That's my little things that I can do on top of resharing, donating. I really want to go to a march, but I feel like I'm in the wrong spheres on the internet to find out when they are. But education is so important. Education is so important. We're just gonna go back over with the brush, but you can see like less crazy. If I didn't blend this, the Republican TikTok trend is hilarious and has really had me cackling. I'm sort of back on TikTok. I try to spend like less than 15 minutes on there. And I did feel like if I wouldn't blend it, it'd be very Republican makeup. Oh, gotta do highlighter because she is glowing. Do you wanna see? See, Kira, she glowing. What highlighter is that? Don't know, but for me to glow, I'm gonna be using the Novel Cosmetics Skin Glazing in the shade Ozone. If you've been around this channel at any time for the last 3-4 years, I've been using this highlighter, the same one. I don't believe that makeup expires when it says it does, it's my toxic trait. And it's still so incredible. It's my favorite highlighter I've ever used. So we're gonna, she's Faye, so we're gonna look a little ethereal. Here comes the difficult part. Let's look at this again before my iPad dies because I forgot to charge it. Okay. I think I might move this point to be up a little bit more, but oh my god. Let's start with the wash of brown on the lids. I'm gonna be using from Danessa Myricks, her Groundwork palette. I picked this one. You could pick any palette with browns in it. I'm going into the shade Chiseled. I want to kind of blow this out. I feel like I have some lid space, don't get me wrong. I don't have the most lid space, so whenever I want to do something super detailed, I do try to bring the shadow almost all the way up to my eyebrow. I'm also going to pull this shadow a bit further down just because I want to use some of the space here. And if I look like a little bit like I haven't slept in 3 days, she's trying to save a continent, a group of people she's trying to bring back from extinction, from genocide, okay? She's a little tired, Kira. She's a little tired. We're blowing this out this way, blowing that out that way. I really popped off into my reading phase when I was unemployed. I promised myself I was gonna try to read 20 books last year. I read 23. I'm trying to read 25 this year. I know it's not like a huge jump up. My job, I'm not unemployed anymore. So, you know, different responsibilities. But technically I'm using Storygraph because fuck Jeff Bezos. And they count plays as books, which they are. And I'm trying to read a bunch of plays this year as a playwright. I think, you know, I can learn from other people. So I'm trying to read a lot of plays this year and they count plays as books. So technically I've already read like 5 books. I do have a history book on the My Lai massacre that I'm working through that's very dense, but I'm already, I think, like 100 pages in. The thing about me in history, I can't stop once I start. Even if it's like, it's a very tragic event, the My Lai massacre. I am so interested in why people do what they do, why people commit the acts they commit. I just want to know why. I think that's why I was a historian. I just want to know why. Why are people acting the way they are? Why is this circumstance the way it is? How can we prevent it from happening again? The Vietnam War, I just posted on here about the Agent Orange. Agent Orange is a part of Vietnam that I learned about briefly, but not all that much. And one day I was just sitting there being like, well, what do I want to talk about on TikTok now? And I was like, you know what? I really am curious about Agent Orange, and I bet you a lot of people are too. I think the Vietnam War is something that's not really taught a lot, like in depth in traditional education, because like, if we're gonna be real honest with each other, we did not win that war. We did not win the War of 1812. We did not win the Vietnam War. And we only won World War I because Germany was tired of fighting. Fun fact. Big fun facts. We gotta set our face with some setting spray. Oh God, this is not. Kind kind of spurted at me, so I hope it didn't ruin my makeup. I'm gonna use from this artist palette from Glisten. I don't have exactly the shade that I was thinking, but I thought about this shade. And I think I'm just gonna go with that. We're going in with the very, very small, mucho pequeño, little thing because I decided to do, I hate myself, I think, little details. Will they look as nice as this? Probably not. Is that okay? Absolutely. Okay, that took a bit of time, but I'm very happy with it. You can see there's like some kind of like etching, some kind of marking, some kind of... the other thing I had on my drawing was a bit of green shimmer on the corner because the book, the surrounding pieces of the book is green. So I took out this palette that has a bunch of greens in it, and then I'm gonna take this one called Sippin' Soup and just kind of pop that on my inner corner. Like so, blend that out. I dig that. Wow, I dig this. This looks really cool. I'm proud of myself for doing this. Last but not least, lips. My lips are definitely going through something. I was not feeling well this weekend, and whenever I don't feel well, the first thing that goes are my lips. It's like a side effect I've had since COVID. So what are you gonna do? We're just gonna put on a red lip liner. Actually really pumped about this. Let's put on a little bit of mascara. Okay, this is the finished look. Let's look at the big picture one more time. This is what I intended. This is what I ended up with, which I think is actually very close to what I envisioned. I think I made the skin nice and like light. I think I did the cover justice. I'm excited to read this book now. I did think of another look. I'm gonna sneak peek it because I don't know if I'm gonna do a whole video on it unless you guys want one. I think this is gonna be really cool. It's not supposed to be orange, it's supposed to be gold. Hypothetically, very cool. Okay guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to. I'll also leave a link to the first book in the series below. Let me know if you guys have any books that you love. I would love to put them on the list, and have a great day, everyone.